Guys, we are fresh off UFC 324 and we were treated to an absolute banger of a main event. Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim UFC lightweight championship. And listen, what a fight. A fight that is defined more by heart than technical ability, in my opinion. But hats off to both men. Honestly, Justin Gaethje is the new interim champion and he deserves it. Dominant performance from start to finish, in my opinion. He did have a couple of hiccups during the fight, and Paddy did show the kind of determination and live true to his words that Scousers don't get knocked out. But I'm going to focus on Justin Gaethje, 37 years of age. He has been in the division for a very, very long time. Back in the time where Conor was dominating and Khabib was dominating, and he is still here today. He is still here and he is putting in performances that, listen, establish himself at the top of the division. Yes, he is not the undisputed champion. He will need to go up against Ilia Topuria to cement himself as that man. But against who the UFC put in front of him, he got the job done and he was dominant. For me, 4 rounds to 1. Again, we're going to go into the details of the fight. Firstly, Justin Gaethje came out like the old Justin Gaethje. And I think I've spoken about it previously. He's had a little bit of a change of approach in terms of he's been a little bit more calm, a little bit more composed. Today, none of that, especially starting off the fight. From round one, he was looking for Paddy to get absolutely knocked out. He was trying to take off his head clean. And that's the Justin Gaethje that is dangerous, but is also someone who can get caught. But he was gunning for Paddy, and when Paddy felt that power to the body, to the head, you could see that he felt the power. You could see that power that we talk about with Justin Gaethje was in full effect, and it was damaging Paddy. You could see after the fight how much he actually went through. His face was battered and bruised. He looked like the guy from Saw with the puffed up face. It was nasty, and that shows what Justin brings to the octagon. Absolutely relenting chaos. Brutality was what he was looking to establish, and that's exactly what he did. Paddy was game at times. He tried to give as good as he got, but the same impact, the same damage wasn't there. He threw a number of shots. He was varying up his strikes to the body, to the head, to the feet. But again, I think Justin Gaethje used all of his experience, used the kind of game style that I think that Paddy would struggle with the most. Someone who's on the front foot, continuously looking to push the pace, continuously trying to put him under pressure. And I think I'm slightly disappointed in Paddy, not from the heart he showed, because listen, he showed it and he's won over a lot of fans from that alone. But for me, it's more we know where his strengths lie. And yes, coming into the fight, he was the bigger man. The size difference between him and Justin was stark to say the least. But I look at him knowing his game style, knowing where his strengths lie. He's very proficient on the ground. He's one of the best grapplers in the division. And the fact that he didn't establish himself as that during this fight is very disappointing. In my opinion, he should have been looking to take down Justin 1 or 2 times because again, we know Justin has a wrestling background, but one that he doesn't use, and get him to the ground, see what he could establish in terms of submissions. And he never did that. He was looking to scrap with Justin, and that's a dangerous, dangerous thing if you're not one of the best strikers. He is a bigger man. He did have the reach, yes, but in terms of the way he strikes, it's a little bit awkward, and he's not always able to establish himself in the rhythm that he wants to. Again, he's grown year upon year upon year in his striking, but it's still not natural. It's still not fluid. He still didn't use the reach to the best of his ability to put Justin continuously on the outside, and that's something that he needs to look into. I think when I look towards both men, there's holes in their games. And yeah, they can improve. I think from Justin's standpoint, still gets hit way too often. And I know he wasn't listening to Trevor Whitman as much as Trevor probably would have liked. But when he does come in with that composed style, he gives himself a better chance to not be in positions where he could get knocked out or could get damaged. There were a couple of occasions in this fight where Paddy did hurt him, and Paddy's not the best striker in the world. So there are gaps in his game. He does get hit a lot, as Paddy said before the fight, and that's something that he needs to look into, especially if he's going up against someone like Ilia Topuria. He will put himself in a very dangerous position if he gets caught like that. The amount of times that Paddy was able to catch him. For Paddy's standpoint, I really just want to see him establish who he is as a fighter and not give in to the hype. Yes, you are the bigger man, but use that strength to get your opponent down. Establish your grappling because, again, I do think he's one of the best grapplers in the division and utilize that continuously going forward. I think when it comes to the future of both men, again, Justin at age 37, hats off to you, man. You put on a clinic against a young up and coming star that the UFC positioned for this title. They really did position him for this title. The lead up to this title fight, I think Paddy could have gone through a bit more of a war, a bit more of an attrition to see if he was actually ready. That wasn't the case, and again, that's UFC's decision. But Justin is a litmus test, especially the Justin that we've seen most recently, and is a test that Paddy failed. He himself will tell you that he failed and he needs to improve, and he will. But I think for me, establish your game plan, establish who you are. You're a bigger man in the division. Use that strength. Use the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu and the grappling that you have to get your opponents down to the ground and make them fight your fight. And if they are going to stand up again, be more proficient on how you use your reach, how you use your size, how you grapple. Because in those grappling exchanges, when they were close up, I think he did a pretty decent job. But again, too many times Justin caught him in those mid-level exchanges, times where he knocked Paddy to the ground and a lot of ground and pound was established. So he needs to look into his game and how he can improve. But to me, this is all about Justin and what he did. And I know Paddy would have won over some fight fans with his performance and his grit and determination. For both men, again, Justin will need to look towards Ilia. If Ilia is going to be back in time, if not, potentially against Arman, we will see. For Paddy, I think the fight is tailor-made. It's him versus Dan Hooker. Bad blood, to say the least, talking about mothers and dead friends. And that's what builds up a premium UFC fight. A premium UFC event would be Paddy Pimblett versus Dan Hooker, and that is a fight that I would definitely watch and see. And it would be a good way for Paddy to get back on the horse and Dan to potentially have a big fight and a big name he can go up against. Just quickly talking about some of the other fights on the card, we had Sean O'Malley beat Song Yadong. To me, not impressed by Sean's performance. Song was game, he was aggressive, a little bit careless in my opinion. And listen, Sean established a bit of damage on Song. To me, that fight could have gone either way. I think Song, to me, had it probably 2-1. But again, Sean established the damage on Song. He was continuously peppering him with his jab and the long range strikes and utilizing those weapons well. And so I'm not really going to argue too much about the winner, but for me, it's going to be interesting. Sean will be in a position where he's not angling for a fight against Yan if Yan beats Marab. And if he gets that, listen, the UFC will run that, no doubt about it. The other fights that we'll talk about is Wilder Acosta versus Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis, very disappointing. Wilder continuing his streak. We saw a second round knockout. Derek Lewis threw around, I don't know, like 10 or so punches during the fight, and they were more like punches that were looping or punches that were just like stay away from me punches. Derek Lewis, I think, is entering the twilight of his career, but he's always going to be game. There's going to be money fights for him just because of the power. Wilder Acosta established himself with the jab, with the leg kicks. And listen, this new wave of heavyweight fighters will probably be prepped and go through Derek Lewis as long as he will fight, because he's a big name. He will generate interest on the card, and he always has that power which can leave viewers with a little bit of doubt in terms of if that up and comer can actually get past a challenge like Derek Lewis. Other than that, we had Natalia Silva beat Rose Namajunas. We had Arnold Allen lose to Gene Silva. We had Umar Nurmagomedov beat Figueroa. Looking forward to the next UFC card on the 31st, which will be Volk versus Lopez. And guys, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on the main event, or what was your fight of the night, and what you see in store for Justin versus Ilia, and Paddy potentially against Dan Hooker. I want to hear it all. I'll catch you soon. It's been EDA. Peace.